War Alpha Kreth stood on the bridge of the destroyer ship Crimson Fang and looked at the small blue planet on the viewing screen. His four eyes studied the surface with practiced efficiency. Green lands, blue waters, white clouds. It looked peaceful. It looked easy. Initial scans complete, War Alpha, his second-in-command, reported. The younger Vraxian's mandibles clicked with barely contained excitement. The dominant species is called humans. They have no natural armor, no claws, no venom. Their bite force is pathetically weak. Their running speed is average at best. Kreth nodded slowly. In his 300 years of service, he had led the conquest of 17 worlds. This would be his 18th. Perhaps his easiest. The Vraxian Empire had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years because they were perfect predators. 8 feet of armored exoskeleton, pack coordination that bordered on telepathy, and an instinct for warfare that no other species could match. Military assessment? Kreth asked. Primitive. They have nuclear weapons, but the delivery systems are slow. They have conventional explosives and kinetic firearms. No energy weapons. No plasma technology. No shield systems. The second-in-command's voice carried clear amusement. They have barely achieved faster-than-light travel. Their ships are held together with literal welding. Kreth allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The High Command had given him this assignment as a reward for his victories. An easy conquest to end his career with glory. 3 solar cycles, they estimated. Maybe less population? He asked. 8 billion. Concentrated in urban centers. They call their planet Earth 8 billion. A large number, but it meant nothing. The Vraxians had conquered species with larger populations. Numbers did not win wars. Discipline did. Training did. The predator instinct did. And in all the galaxy, no species had the predator instinct like the Vraxians. Send the standard surrender demand, Kreth ordered. Inform them they will become a tributary world of the Vraxian Empire. They will provide resources and soldiers for our expansion. Resistance will result in complete annihilation. The communications officer worked at his console. The message transmitted across all human frequencies in their dominant languages. Kreth had given this speech to 17 species before. Some surrendered immediately. Some fought briefly before surrendering. None had ever truly resisted. The response came faster than expected. A simple audio transmission, a human male voice speaking their language called English. 3 words that the translation matrix struggled to properly convey in their full meaning. Come and take it. Kreth's mandibles twitched. Defiance. Common enough in the early stages. It would fade once they understood the futility of resistance. Launch the invasion, he commanded. The Crimson Fang led a battle group of 50 ships toward Earth. Drop pods launched from orbit, carrying warriors to 7 different continents simultaneously. The Vraxian military doctrine was simple and effective. Strike everywhere at once. Overwhelm command structures. Force immediate surrender. Kreth watched the tactical displays as his forces landed. The humans had military bases, but they were scattered and disconnected. No unified command that he could see. No coordinated response. Within hours, the Vraxians controlled 15 major cities. Victory is certain, War Alpha, his second-in-command reported. Human military forces are retreating on all fronts, but something felt wrong. Kreth had learned to trust his instincts over 3 centuries of warfare. The humans were retreating, yes, but not in panic. They were falling back in organized groups, taking their weapons with them, disappearing into their cities and forests. The first casualty report came that evening. A patrol of 6 warriors had been ambushed in a human city called Baghdad. Improvised explosives had killed 4 of them. The remaining 2 were hunted down by human fighters who seemed to appear from nowhere and disappear just as quickly. Kreth studied the report with growing concern. Improvised explosives, ambush tactics, hit-and-run attacks. These were not the tactics of prey species. Prey species either surrendered or fought in desperate last stands. They did not hunt their hunters. The casualty reports continued through the night. A building collapsed on a Vraxian squad in a city called Moscow. Snipers picked off warriors in a place called Atlanta. A fuel depot exploded in Tokyo, killing 20 warriors. In each case, the humans struck and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. They are cowards, his second-in-command snarled. They hide and strike from shadows. This is not honorable combat, but Kreth was thinking. He pulled up the tactical data and studied it carefully. The attacks were not random. They targeted supply lines, command posts, ammunition storage. The humans were not fighting out of panic. They were fighting with strategy. Increase patrols, Kreth ordered. Fortify all positions. Scan all buildings before entering. The orders went out. The Vraxians adapted. They were apex predators after all. They could adapt to any threat, but the humans adapted faster. In a city called Kabul, a Vraxian patrol scanned a building and found it empty. When they entered, the humans detonated the entire structure from a remote location. In a place called Chechnya, human fighters wore captured Vraxian armor and walked right up to a checkpoint before opening fire. In the forests of Vietnam, humans dug elaborate tunnel systems that the Vraxian scanners could not fully penetrate. 1 week became 2. 2 weeks became a month. Kreth's casualty reports grew longer each day. The humans were not surrendering. They were not even slowing down. If anything, their attacks were becoming more coordinated, more deadly. Kreth captured a human fighter in a raid on a hidden base outside a city called Berlin. The human was female, middle-aged, with gray hair and hard eyes. Her identification said her name was Sarah Chen. She was a scientist, not a soldier, yet she had been leading resistance fighters. "Why do you resist?" Kreth asked her through the translation device. "You cannot win. We are superior in every way." Sarah Chen looked at him with something that disturbed Kreth deeply. It was not fear. It was not even hatred. It was calculation. She was studying him the way he studied prey. "You have never met a species like us," she said simply. "We have conquered 847 species," Kreth replied. "You are not special." "No," Sarah Chen agreed. "We are not special. We are something worse. We are what happens when prey becomes predator." Kreth did not understand. "Humans are not predators. Your bodies are weak. You have no natural weapons." Sarah Chen smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "Our bodies are weak, yes, but our minds are not. Do you know what makes a true predator, Vraxian? It is not strength. It is not armor. It is the willingness to do whatever it takes to survive. And humans have been doing whatever it takes for 300,000 years. She gestured at the walls of her cell. "You think you are the first predators we have faced? We evolved alongside saber-toothed cats. We hunted cave bears with sharpened sticks. We drove the mammoths to extinction with nothing but stone and persistence. We did not have claws, so we made them. We did not have armor, so we made it. We did not have venom, so we made poison. Every advantage you have, we learned to create." Kreth felt something he had not felt in a very long time. Uncertainty. "You are still losing this war," he said. "We have been fighting for exactly 43 days, Sarah Chen replied. "You expected to win in less than 10. Who is really losing?" That night, Kreth sent his first message to High Command that was not a victory report. He chose his words carefully, aware that what he was about to say had never been said in 10,000 years of Vraxian conquest. Request reinforcements. The prey are predators. 6 months had passed since the invasion began. War Alpha Kreth stood in what had once been the human city of Geneva and watched smoke rise from 3 different districts. His forces controlled the city center, but the humans controlled everything else. The same pattern repeated across the planet. The Vraxians held territory on paper, but they bled for every meter they kept. The casualty reports made Kreth's mandibles ache. 4,000 warriors dead, 8,000 wounded, supplies constantly disrupted, equipment destroyed by sabotage. The humans called it guerrilla warfare. Kreth called it a nightmare. He had requested reinforcements twice more. The High Command had sent them, confused by reports that made no sense. How could a primitive species resist the Vraxian Empire? How could soft-skinned bipeds fight back against the galaxy's apex predators? Kreth had kept the human prisoner Sarah Chen in relative comfort, not out of mercy, but because she seemed to understand things that he desperately needed to learn. Today, he visited her cell with a question that had haunted him for weeks. "How?" he asked simply. Sarah Chen looked up from the human book she was reading. The guards had allowed her books as a small privilege. She seemed unsurprised by his question. "How are we surviving?" she asked. "Or how are we fighting back?" "Both." Sarah Chen set down her book and stood. She moved to the window of her cell, which overlooked the burning city. "Because this is not our first war, Kreth. This is not even our worst war." "Explain," Kreth demanded. Sarah Chen turned to face him. "On Earth we have a concept called an apex predator. It means the species at the top of the food chain. The hunter that has no natural predators of its own." She paused. Earth does not have one. Kreth's confusion must have shown because Sarah Chen continued. We had them once. Large carnivores that could kill humans easily, but humans killed them first. Not because we were stronger. We were not. Not because we were faster. We were not. But because we were smarter. We learned to hunt in packs. We learned to make weapons. We learned to plan and trap and persist. She walked closer to the transparent barrier between them. Do you know what persistence hunting is, Kreth? It is when a predator chases prey not for minutes but for hours, for days, until the prey collapses from exhaustion. Human ancestors did this. We chased animals until they literally died of tiredness. We were not fast enough to catch them, so we simply never stopped chasing. Kreth listened, his mind working through the implications. That is what we are doing to you, Sarah Chen said quietly. We cannot match your strength, so we never let you rest. We cannot match your armor, so we attack your supply lines. We cannot match your ships, so we make you afraid to land. We are persistence hunting you, Kreth, and we can do this for generations if we must. You are still losing soldiers, Kreth pointed out. Your casualties are higher than ours? Yes, Sarah Chen agreed. Much higher. But you see, that is the other thing about humans. We are very, very good at dying for a cause. She walked to a console and activated it, calling up files that Kreth's intelligence teams had collected from human data networks. Let me show you our history. The next hour changed everything Kreth thought he knew about warfare. Sarah Chen showed him wars fought with swords and spears, where humans died in millions for land and honor. She showed him wars fought with rifles and artillery, where humans invented weapons specifically to kill other humans more efficiently. She showed him a conflict called World War II, where over 70 million humans died in just 6 years. We have been fighting each other for our entire history, Sarah Chen explained. Every generation we get better at it. Every war we learn new tactics. We have spent 10,000 years killing each other with increasing creativity. You are not teaching us how to fight, Kreth. You are just giving us a new enemy to practice on. Kreth stared at the images of human warfare. The trenches of World War I, where humans sat in mud for years shooting at each other across empty fields. The nuclear weapons of World War II, where humans invented devices that could destroy entire cities in seconds. The Cold War, where two human nations held the entire planet hostage with enough weapons to kill everyone multiple times over. You are insane, Kreth said quietly. Your entire species is insane. Perhaps, Sarah Chen said. But we are also still here. We did not destroy ourselves, Kreth. We came very close several times, but we learned control. We learned cooperation. We learned that survival means sometimes working with former enemies. She looked at him meaningfully. Lessons you might want to learn. Kreth left the cell with his mind churning. He spent the next week studying human history obsessively. The more he learned, the more disturbed he became. Humans had domesticated wolves into weapons called dogs. They had invented chemical weapons, biological weapons, nuclear weapons. They had fought wars in jungles, deserts, mountains, oceans, and even underground. The Vraxians had evolved to be perfect warriors. But humans had evolved to be imperfect warriors who never stopped improving. The proof came 2 weeks later. A human strike team attacked a Vraxian supply depot outside Delhi. They used Vraxian weapons, wore Vraxian armor, and even used Vraxian scent markers to fool the guards. They destroyed 3 months of supplies before vanishing into the city. When Kreth studied the attack recordings, he realized the humans had learned to mimic Vraxian movement patterns. Then came the worst news. Human scientists had reverse-engineered captured Vraxian plasma rifles. It should have taken decades. It took them 4 months. The weapons were crude, unstable, and dangerous to the user. The humans used them anyway. Kreth's second-in-command brought him a report that made his blood run cold. War Alpha. Our intelligence division has detected unusual communication patterns. We believe the humans have infiltrated our supply network. They may know our deployment schedules. That is impossible, Kreth said. Our communications are encrypted with algorithms that would take centuries to break. Nevertheless, they seem to know where our ships will be before we arrive. Kreth thought of Sarah Chen's words about human intelligence. He thought of the wars where humans spent decades infiltrating each other's governments. He thought of the Cold War, where human spies had stolen secrets that should have been impossible to steal. Increase security on all communications, Kreth ordered. Assume the humans are listening to everything. That night, a human team nearly succeeded in assassinating Kreth himself. They had infiltrated his command center using forged credentials, avoided every security checkpoint, and made it within 20 meters of his quarters before being discovered. The firefight killed 15 warriors and all 5 humans, but the message was clear. Nowhere was safe. Kreth requested another meeting with Sarah Chen. This time, he had a different question. "What do you want?" he asked. Sarah Chen smiled, finally asking the right question. "We want you to leave. We want our planet back. We want you to understand that Earth is not and will never be a tributary world. The Empire will never accept that. We have never retreated from a conquest." "Then you will be here for a very long time," Sarah Chen said, "because we will never stop fighting. Our children will fight you. Their children will fight you. We will fight you for 1,000 years if necessary. We know how to do that, Kreth. We have done it before." Kreth looked at this small, soft-skinned creature and saw a truth that terrified him. She meant every word. Humans would rather die fighting than live under Vraxian rule, and they had the history to prove they were capable of it. "I will send your message to the High Command," Kreth said quietly. "Tell them something else," Sarah Chen said. "Tell them that other species are watching this war. Tell them that every day we resist is a day that shows the galaxy that the Vraxians can bleed. Ask them what happens to an empire built on fear when that fear starts to fade." Kreth returned to his quarters and composed the most difficult message of his career. He told the High Command that Earth could not be conquered through traditional means. He told them that human resistance was strengthening, not weakening. He told them that this war was becoming something the Vraxian Empire had never faced before, a war of attrition against an enemy that seemed to welcome attrition. The response from High Command was brief and cold. "Send a detailed tactical assessment. Victory is mandatory. Failure is not acceptable." Kreth looked at the message and realized something that Sarah Chen had not said but had implied. The Vraxian Empire had never learned to adapt because it had never needed to. 10,000 years of easy victories had made them rigid, predictable, vulnerable. The humans were teaching the Vraxians a lesson they had never wanted to learn. That being the strongest predator meant nothing if your prey refused to act like prey. 2 years had passed since the Vraxian Empire invaded Earth. War Commander Kreth, promoted after his old superior died in a human ambush, stood in the ruins of London and tried to remember what victory was supposed to look like. This was not it. The Vraxian Empire had committed 40% of its total military fleet to Earth. 40%. More ships than they had used to conquer entire sectors of the galaxy. And still the humans fought. Still they resisted. Still they bled the Vraxians with 1,000 small cuts. Kreth's command staff gathered in the fortified bunker that served as their headquarters. The news was bad. It was always bad now. Supply convoy attacked near Cairo, the logistics officer reported. 12 transport ships destroyed. 2 escort fighters damaged. The humans used modified civilian vessels as ramming ships. Kreth's mandibles clicked in frustration. Ramming ships. The humans had discovered that the Vraxian shields could not stop a large enough mass moving fast enough. So they filled old cargo ships with explosives, pointed them at Vraxian vessels and crashed them into their targets. The pilots died, of course, but there always seemed to be more human pilots willing to die. "Rebellion on Cortax Prime," the intelligence officer added. "The subject species there have risen up against our garrison. They are using human tactics, hit-and-run attacks, improvised explosives, sabotage." This was the news that worried Kreth most. For 10,000 years, the Vraxian Empire had ruled through fear. The subject species had believed that resistance was impossible. But now they watched human news broadcasts. They saw humans fighting back. They saw the mighty Vraxian Empire struggling against a single planet. The fear was fading. And without fear, the Empire was just a collection of stretched-thin military forces trying to hold too much territory. "We need to show strength," Kreth's second-in-command said. "We should destroy one of their major cities as an example. Show them the cost of resistance." Kreth considered this. It was standard Vraxian doctrine. Destroy something important to break their will to fight. But he had read human history now. He knew what happened when someone tried to break human will through terror. "The humans have a city called Hiroshima," Kreth said quietly. "Another called Nagasaki. Their own people destroyed those cities with nuclear weapons to try to end a war. The humans surrendered, yes, but only after 2 bombs, not 1. They needed to see it happen twice before they accepted it was over. He looked at his second-in-command, and that was humans fighting other humans. "Do you think they will break faster when it is us doing the destroying?" The second-in-command had no answer. Kreth pulled up a tactical display showing global resistance activity. Red markers covered the map like a disease. Europe, Asia, Africa, the Americas, Australia. Everywhere humans lived, they fought. "They are not defending cities anymore," Kreth explained. "They have learned that we can take cities, so they make us pay for holding them. Every building might contain a bomb. Every civilian might be a fighter. Every street might be a trap. We control the cities during the day, but at night, the humans own the shadows." He zoomed in on a region called Afghanistan. This territory has been fighting invaders for thousands of their years. First the Persians, then the Greeks, then the Mongols, then the British, then the Soviets, then the Americans. Every empire that tried to hold this land failed, and now we are trying and we are failing too. "We are not failing," his second-in-command protested. "We hold all major strategic positions. We hold buildings," Kreth corrected. "The humans hold everything else." A new report came through. Kreth read it and felt something cold settle into his core. The humans had launched their first successful attack on a Kier, Vraxian world outside of Earth. A team of human infiltrators had sabotaged orbital defenses around a colony world called Vraxis 3. Human ships had then bombed military installations on the surface before escaping. How did they get there? The second-in-command demanded. "How did humans travel to Vraxis 3 without us knowing?" "Because we have been focused on Earth," Kreth said. "We assumed that because we control their space, they cannot move freely. But humans do not need permission to go where they want. They find a way." He thought of Sarah Chen's lessons on human history. The underground railroads that moved escaped slaves to freedom. The resistance networks during World War II that smuggled people across enemy territory. The Cold War spies who moved through lockdown countries like ghosts. Humans had always been good at going where they were not supposed to go. "Increase security on all worlds," Kreth ordered. But even as he said it, he knew it was futile. The Empire had thousands of worlds. They could not guard them all. The war dragged on. Months became seasons, became years. The Vraxians learned to expect ambushes, so the humans attacked supply lines instead. The Vraxians hardened supply lines, so humans poisoned water supplies. The Vraxians secured water sources, so humans hacked communication networks. The Vraxians encrypted their communications, so humans started hunting their commanders personally. Every time the Vraxians adapted, the humans adapted faster. It was like fighting smoke, like trying to hold water in your claws. No matter what the Vraxians did, the humans found a way around it. Kreth began to understand something fundamental about human warfare. The Vraxians had evolved to win through strength and coordination. They fought as they had always fought, but humans had evolved to win through adaptation. They fought however they needed to fight. The Vraxians were specialists. Humans were generalists, and in a long war the generalist always won. The breaking point came when the Vraxian Empire deployed a biological weapon. It was designed specifically to target human genetics, to make them sick without killing the environment. It was released in 3 major population centers. Within 2 weeks, millions of humans were dead or dying. Kreth had argued against the deployment. He knew humans too well now. He knew what was coming. But the High Command had overruled him. They wanted the war to end. They wanted humans to surrender in fear and despair. The human response came exactly 4 weeks later. A Vraxian troop transport approaching Earth suddenly went silent. Then another. Then a dozen more. The ships did not explode. They did not crash. They simply stopped responding. When rescue teams boarded them, they found all the crew dead from a fast-acting biological agent that had been pumped into the life support systems. The agent was specifically designed to target Vraxian genetics. Kreth read the intelligence report with numb horror. The humans had not just retaliated. They had developed their own bioweapon in less than a month. A weapon that should have taken years to design. The humans had done it in weeks using equipment they had built from salvaged Vraxian technology and their own scientific knowledge. The bioweapon spread through the Vraxian invasion fleet like fire through dry grass. 50,000 warriors died in 3 days. The humans had not released it on Earth itself, Kreth noted. They had released it in space, where it could kill Vraxian soldiers without harming human civilians. Precise, calculated, ruthless. The High Command finally understood what Kreth had been trying to tell them for 2 years. They were not fighting a primitive species. They were fighting a species that had been preparing for total war since before they left their caves. Contact the human leadership, the Emperor's message said. Arrange a ceasefire. We will negotiate terms. Kreth read the message 3 times to be sure he understood it. In 10,000 years, the Vraxian Empire had never negotiated with a conquest species, never offered terms, never admitted that they could not win. But here they were. Kreth requested a meeting with Sarah Chen. She had been released from formal imprisonment months ago as a gesture of goodwill. Though she remained on Vraxian-controlled territory, she agreed to meet him in a neutral building in Geneva. Your people want to negotiate, Kreth said without preamble. Yes, Sarah Chen replied. We have terms. We still have superior numbers, Kreth felt obligated to point out. We could continue this war. We could win with enough sacrifice. Sarah Chen looked at him with those calculating eyes. Could you? Let us do the math, Kreth. You have lost over 100,000 soldiers in 2 years. At this rate, you will lose another 100,000 in the next 2 years. Meanwhile, your subject worlds are rebelling. Your economy is straining. Your people are questioning why they are dying for a planet that refuses to submit. She leaned forward. You could win, perhaps, but at what cost? And what would you be ruling over when you were done? A dead planet? A graveyard? Kreth said nothing because she was right. Here is what we offer, Sarah Chen said. A ceasefire, negotiations, a path forward that does not end with both our species bleeding each other white. We do not want to destroy you, Kreth, we never did. We just want you to leave us alone. The Emperor has agreed to negotiate, Kreth said. There will be a formal meeting in 30 days, on a neutral station. Good, Sarah Chen said. Then maybe this war can end. It already has, Kreth replied quietly. We just have not admitted it yet. He looked at the human woman who had taught him so much. About persistence, about adaptation, about the terrible things that soft-skinned bipeds were capable of when they were backed into a corner. You were right, Kreth said. From the beginning, we had never met a species like yours. I do not think the galaxy had ever seen a species like yours. Sarah Chen smiled sadly. We are not special, Kreth. We are the neutral station hung in space between Earth and the nearest Vraxian world. It had been constructed specifically for these negotiations, a symbol of the impossible thing that was about to happen. The Vraxian Empire was about to negotiate with a species they had tried to conquer. War Commander Kreth arrived with a delegation of 20 warriors and 3 diplomats. The diplomats had never negotiated a treaty before. They had only ever written terms of surrender for conquered species to sign. This was new territory for everyone. The human delegation was smaller, only 7 people led by Sarah Chen. Kreth had recommended her as humanity's chief negotiator. She knew the Vraxians better than any other human. She understood how they thought. More importantly, she understood how to make them listen. The 2 groups met in a circular room with transparent walls that showed the stars beyond. No weapons were allowed, no recording devices except the official ones. Just 2 species trying to find a way to stop killing each other. The lead Vraxian diplomat began with the traditional opening. The Vraxian Empire is willing to accept your surrender. As a tributary world, Earth will provide resources and soldiers. In exchange, you will receive the protection and benefits of Imperial membership. Sarah Chen let the words hang in the air for a moment. Then she laughed. It was not a kind sound. You still think you are winning, she said. After 2 years of bleeding, after losing 40% of your fleet, after watching your empire begin to crumble, you still think you have the stronger position. The Vraxian diplomat's mandibles clicked in irritation. We have more ships, more soldiers, more resources. Time is on our side, is it? Sarah Chen opened a data pad and projected information into the center of the room. Let me show you something. These are the locations of human infiltration teams throughout your empire. We have operatives on 47 Vraxian worlds. They have been there for 18 months, moving through your society, learning your systems, preparing for contingencies. The Vraxians stared at the data. Kreth felt his blood chill. 47 worlds. The humans had infiltrated 47 worlds while fighting a defensive war on Earth. Impossible, the diplomat said. Our security would have detected them. Your security is designed to catch Vraxians trying to do Vraxian things, Sarah Chen replied. We do not do things the Vraxian way. We do things our way. She changed the projection. These are nuclear devices, fusion bombs, dirty bombs. Each one is hidden on a different Vraxian world. If Earth falls, we detonate them all. 20 Vraxian worlds burn, maybe more. The room fell silent. Kreth stared at Sarah Chen, searching for deception. He found only cold certainty. You would kill billions of civilians, the diplomat said. Would we? Sarah Chen asked. The devices are placed near military installations, not civilian centers. But yes, there would be collateral damage. Just as there was collateral damage when you deployed biological weapons on Earth. She leaned forward. We call this mutually assured destruction. We invented it 80 years ago. For ourselves. To keep our own nations from destroying each other with nuclear weapons. It works by making victory impossible. If you destroy us, we destroy you. No winner. Only losers. This is madness, the diplomat said. Yes, Sarah Chen agreed. Welcome to human warfare. We have been doing mad things to each other for 10,000 years. You are just the latest in a very long line. Kreth spoke up, breaking protocol. Why did you not tell me this before? Because we were not sure it would work, Sarah Chen said honestly. We were not sure we could get the devices into position without you detecting them. We were not sure the delivery teams would survive. But they did. And now here we are. She looked at each Vraxian in turn. So let us stop pretending. You cannot win this war without destroying yourselves in the process. And we cannot win this war without dying in the millions. Neither of us wants that. So let us negotiate real terms. Not surrender. Partnership. The Empire does not partner with subject species, the diplomat said stiffly. Then the Empire is going to have a very difficult future, Sarah Chen replied. Because 3 other worlds in your territory have contacted us. They want to learn human resistance tactics. They want to know how we fought back. We have been giving them advice. Teaching them. Helping them. She smiled coldly. How long do you think your empire lasts when all your subject species start fighting like humans? Kreth watched the diplomat struggle with this new reality. Everything the Vraxian Empire was built on was crumbling. Fear, strength, inevitable victory. The humans had proven that none of it was inevitable. The negotiations continued for 3 days. The humans demanded complete withdrawal from Earth, reparations for damages, return of all prisoners, recognition of Earth as a sovereign world. The Vraxians countered with smaller concessions, trying to save face. On the 4th day, everything nearly fell apart. A faction within the Vraxian military attempted a coup. They believed that negotiating with humans was weakness. They believed the Empire should fight until humanity was ashes. They attacked the Emperor's palace, trying to seize control. The attack was well planned and nearly succeeded. But Kreth received a warning 30 minutes before it happened. The warning came from human intelligence operatives who had intercepted the coup communications. The humans warned the Vraxians about a coup against the Vraxian government. Kreth immediately contacted loyalist forces. The coup was crushed within hours. The leaders were executed. The Emperor survived. In the aftermath, Kreth found Sarah Chen in the observation deck looking at the stars. Why? He asked. Why warn us? You could have let us destroy ourselves. Because a failed state is worse than an empire, Sarah Chen said. If your government falls, there will be chaos. A power vacuum. Other species will fight over the remains. Billions will die, she looked at him. We want you gone from Earth. But we do not want your empire to collapse. Not yet, maybe not ever. The galaxy needs some kind of order. It just needs better order than what you had. Kreth understood then. The humans were not just thinking about the war. They were thinking about what came after. They were planning decades ahead while fighting for their survival today. It was the most terrifying form of strategic thinking he had ever encountered. You saved my emperor, Kreth said. My people. We saved our future, Sarah Chen corrected. A stable Vraxian empire is better for humanity than a collapsed one. So we helped you, not out of kindness. Out of strategy, the negotiations resumed. This time, the Vraxian delegation was led by the emperor himself. He had realized something that his diplomats had not. The humans were not going to surrender. Ever. The choice was simple. Make peace or fight forever. The treaty took another week to finalize. In the end, both sides compromised. The Vraxians would withdraw from Earth completely. They would pay reparations over 50 years. They would recognize Earth as a sovereign world with the right to defend itself. In exchange, humanity would provide the locations of the hidden nuclear devices. They would also agree to a non-aggression pact and open trade relations. It was not surrender. It was not victory. It was something neither species had done before. It was peace between equals. At the signing ceremony, the Emperor himself stood across from Sarah Chen. He was massive, armored, ancient. She was small, soft, fragile. But they stood as equals. "You have humbled the Vraxian Empire," the Emperor said. "No species has done that in 10,000 years. "We did not try to humble you," Sarah Chen replied. "We tried to survive. That you feel humbled is your own interpretation." The Emperor made a sound that Kreth had learned to recognize as laughter. "You are either the most diplomatic human or the most dangerous one. I cannot decide which." "Both," Sarah Chen said. "We are always both." The treaty was signed. The war was over. Kreth watched the human delegation leave and felt something he had not felt in 3 years. Relief. He had survived. His people had survived. They had learned a terrible lesson, but they had learned it before it destroyed them. That night, Kreth visited Sarah Chen one final time before she returned to Earth. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now we rebuild," Sarah Chen said. "Both of us. And we learn to live with each other. It will not be easy. There is too much anger. Too much blood. But it is possible. We know it is possible because we did it ourselves. After World War II, ancient enemies became allies. America and Japan, France and Germany. It took time, but it happened. Will humans and Vraxians become allies? Kreth asked. Maybe, Sarah Chen said. Or maybe just peaceful neighbors. That would be enough. She looked at him with something that might have been respect. "You were a good enemy, Kreth. You learned when others would not. You adapted when others stayed rigid. You saved your people by being willing to change." "You were a terrifying enemy," Kreth replied. "I hope we never have to fight you again." "So do we," Sarah Chen said softly. "So do we." 10 years had passed since the treaty. Ambassador Kreth stood in the human city of New York and marveled at how much had changed. The city had been badly damaged during the war, but humans had rebuilt it. Not the same as before, but different. Better, perhaps. The architecture now blended human and alien designs, a symbol of the new galaxy that was emerging. Kreth served as the Vraxian Empire's permanent ambassador to Earth. It was not a position he had wanted, but the Emperor had insisted. "You understand them," the Emperor had said. "You learned from them. Teach our people what you learned." So Kreth had stayed on Earth, living among the species that had humbled his people, and slowly, carefully, he had learned to see them not as enemies, but as something else, something the galaxy had never seen before. Partners. The change had not been easy. The Vraxian Empire had resisted at first. They had tried to maintain their old ways, their old attitudes. But the galaxy had shifted beneath their feet. The war with humanity had shown every subject species that resistance was possible. Rebellions had broken out on dozens of worlds. Some were crushed, but others succeeded. The Empire had been forced to change or collapse. They chose change. Now, 10 years later, the Vraxian Empire was smaller, but more stable. They no longer ruled by fear. They ruled by trade agreements, defense pacts, and mutual interest. It was not the empire of old, but it was sustainable. The Emperor had admitted privately to Kreth that the old empire had been dying anyway. Humanity had just accelerated the process. "Ambassador Kreth," a voice called. Kreth turned to see Sarah Chen approaching. She was older now, her hair fully gray, but her eyes still held that calculating sharpness. She had become Earth's Minister of Galactic Relations, managing humanity's expanding role in the galaxy. "Minister Chen," Kreth greeted her. After 10 years, they had developed something resembling friendship, or at least mutual respect built on shared trauma. "I wanted to show you something," Sarah Chen said. She led him to a transport that took them to a massive space station in orbit above Earth. The station was 3 miles long, built by dozens of species working together. Human engineers worked alongside Vraxian construction crews. Former subject species contributed materials and labor. It was called Unity Station, and it would serve as the new Galactic Council headquarters. "Impressive," Kreth admitted. "But why show me?" "Because this was built using human project management. Vraxian structural engineering and materials from 20 different worlds," Sarah Chen explained. "This is what cooperation looks like. This is what we tried to show you during the war." That working together creates better results than domination. Kreth watched a human worker guide a Vraxian crew through a difficult welding procedure. 10 years ago, they would have been shooting at each other. Now they were building together. Not everyone is happy with the changes, Kreth admitted. Some Vraxians believe we should have fought harder, that we surrendered our honor. Some humans believe we should have destroyed your empire completely, Sarah Chen replied. But both our species made the hard choice. We chose to survive instead of being right. That is what adults do. A young human approached, carrying a datapad. Minister Chen, we have a situation. The Zalthor swarm has entered the Outer Rim. They are attacking colony worlds. Kreth felt his mandibles tighten. The Zalthor swarm was a legend in the galaxy, a hive-mind species that consumed everything in its path. They had destroyed 3 civilizations before disappearing into deep space 200 years ago. If they were back, the entire galaxy was in danger. How bad? Sarah Chen asked. They have destroyed 4 colonies in 2 weeks. No survivors. No communication. They just consume and move on. Sarah Chen looked at Kreth. The Vraxian Empire has fought them before, correct? Twice, Kreth confirmed. Both times we barely drove them off. They do not negotiate. They do not retreat. They just consume until there is nothing left or until they are destroyed. Then we need to talk to the Emperor, Sarah Chen said, because this is not something humanity or the Vraxians can handle alone. Within a week, a coalition fleet was assembled, 40 ships from Earth, carrying weapons that blended human innovation with Vraxian technology, 60 Vraxian warships, their oldest and most powerful, and another 80 ships from former subject species who had learned to fight using human tactics. Kreth stood on the bridge of the flagship, a joint Vraxian-human vessel called the Reconciliation. Sarah Chen stood beside him, along with commanders from a dozen species. They all watched the tactical display as the Zalthor swarm approached. They outnumber us 3 to 1, the Vraxian fleet commander noted. Numbers are not everything, a human commander replied. We have strategy. We have coordination. We have learned from each other. The battle was brutal. The Zalthor swarm fought with mindless ferocity, throwing ships at the coalition fleet in waves. But the coalition fought with tactics developed from human and Vraxian experience combined. They used Vraxian strength and human cunning together. Human ships drew the swarm into kill zones. Vraxian ships delivered the devastating firepower. Former subject species used guerrilla tactics learned from human resistance fighters, hitting the swarm's flanks and supply lines. The battle lasted 6 months, not 6 days or 6 weeks. 6 months of constant fighting across 3 star systems. But the coalition held, and slowly, painfully, they pushed the swarm back. When it was over, the Zalthor swarm was destroyed. Not driven off, destroyed completely. The galaxy watched in awe. The species that everyone had feared for centuries was gone, destroyed by the same coalition that had been enemies 10 years ago. We could not have done that alone, the Vraxian Emperor admitted at the victory celebration. Neither could the humans. But together, we were unstoppable. Kreth stood with Sarah Chen at the edge of the celebration, watching hundreds of species mingle and talk. Warriors who had fought together were sharing stories. Engineers who had worked on the ships were comparing designs. Diplomats were already discussing how to formalize the coalition into something permanent. Is this what you imagined? Kreth asked. When you were fighting us, did you imagine this future? Honestly, Sarah Chen said. No, I imagined surviving, maybe winning, but this is better than I hoped. She looked at him. We were lucky, Kreth, both our species. We found a way to stop killing each other before we destroyed each other. Do you think it will last? Kreth asked. This peace? This cooperation? I think it has to, Sarah Chen replied, because the galaxy is a dangerous place. The Zalthor swarm was not the only threat out there, and if we learned anything from the war, it is that we are stronger together than apart. A young Vraxian approached them. She was part of the new generation, born after the war. She had never fought humans. To her, they were just another species in the galaxy. Ambassador Kreth, she said, I have been studying human history as part of my education. I have a question. Ask, Kreth said. The humans have a saying that those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Did we learn? Or will we make the same mistakes again? Kreth looked at Sarah Chen, then back at the young Vraxian. We learned that strength alone is not enough. That being the biggest predator means nothing if you cannot adapt. We learned that cooperation is stronger than domination. We learned these lessons at a terrible cost. Many died so that we could learn. And now we teach these lessons to others, Sarah Chen added. We show them that there is a better way, not through conquest but through partnership, not through fear but through respect. The young Vraxian nodded and moved away. Kreth watched her go and felt something strange. Hope. Real, genuine hope for the future. She will never know what it was like, Kreth said quietly. Fighting you, fearing you, hating you. Good, Sarah Chen said. That is how it should be. Let the past stay in the past. Let the young build something better. They stood in silence for a while, watching the celebration. Species from across the galaxy working together, celebrating together, planning together. It was not perfect. There were still tensions, still old grudges, still difficult conversations. But it was possible. That was what mattered. I have a confession, Kreth said. When I first met you, when you were my prisoner, I thought you were insane. Your entire species seemed insane. We are a little insane, Sarah Chen admitted with a smile. You have to be a little crazy to evolve the way we did, to fight the way we do, to survive what we have survived. But you were right, Kreth continued, about everything. We were predators who never learned to be anything else. You were predators who learned to choose when to hunt and when to cooperate. That is what made you dangerous, not your strength, your wisdom. We are still learning, Sarah Chen said. We make mistakes. We fight among ourselves. We are not perfect, but we keep trying to be better. That is all anyone can do. Ambassador Kreth looked out at the gathered species and thought about the last 10 years. The Vraxian Empire had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years through fear and strength. In just 10 years, humanity had shown a different path. Not through being stronger, but through being smarter, through being willing to forgive old enemies and build new friendships. The galaxy is changing, Kreth said.